Hey, bro. What are you going to teach me today?
A lot of neat stuff. You're gonna love this lecture.
Hello everybody, what's going on? Emo Tempest here, back with the latest episode of Teach Me Mogster. Today we are going to be covering some of the FAQ from Opus 25. I know it's been a little bit, guys, and for that I apologize, but the new season is out, material cups are on their way, and rulings are going to matter. I think it's important that we cover a couple of these. A lot of them I found really interesting, actually, so I know we kind of danced over this last set. It was the preseason, and there wasn't much to talk about, so outside of priming, which we covered. So today we're going to dive into some of these rulings, just hopefully to help you out, give you an edge on your opponents, and just so you're prepared for any cheating. All right, these are pretty straightforward. Avalanche says, the auto ability selected to forward is added to the stack after you've discarded, and the discard is on resolution. That's very simple. There's 2 auto abilities on these. This is basic stuff. Remember, if you see the word when twice, that usually means there's 2 auto abilities, so you'll want to wait till your opponent discards for cost before and after they select their target to deal the damage to cancel it. There's a lot of these this set. Before paying the cost to cast X card, which is usually these summons, you can remove a fire backup you control from the game to reduce the cost by 2. The ruling is the backup card is removed from the game before paying the cost for Ifrit. Accordingly, it is not possible to duel the same backup card to generate CP required to cast Ifrit, meaning you will have to pay for it with a different backup. So the best way to optimize your plays with this Ifrit or any of the summons from this set is to have that backup already been used up for something else. Again, that applies to all of them. There are other cards like this as well, but for the purpose of this new set, every summon is treated the same way. The backup cannot be used for cost if it is being removed. It cannot be used for CP. Let me correct myself there. The Cloud I found interesting one. Text is resolved in order, which we know this is one of those modal effects. When it enters, you select the 2 following, choose any targets, if any, and then resolve them in order. What I found interesting is the text is resolved in order starting from the top accordingly. It is possible to select the 3rd and 4th effect, which is to RFG 2 things in your opponent's break zone and draw a card, and then play a Cat 7 character. You could effectively draw a new Cat 7 character before you make your decision and play that character. So, it's a Cat 7 character that was drawn using the 3rd effect onto the field using the 4th effect. So, just a fun tidbit, something to take advantage. You don't have to commit to playing something if you will be drawing first. So just putting that out there. And then I think this is also one we'll just talk about to cover the basics. Salamander is considered Guts Coat in all situations. All situations refers to wherever the card is currently located, whether it is in the break zone, deck, or player's hand, etc. Just keep that in mind whenever you're playing this. I suspect this card will make its way to Megisa, but they already use Gutsco sometimes, so just something to be aware of. Don't let them play both on you. Alright, now, there isn't much to cover in Ice, unfortunately. Mateus is treated the same way as Ifrit, like I said. Necron, and for the purpose of Necron, we'll go in when we cover Aerith, because these effects are very similar as well. So Aerith says, if Aerith has left the field before the first effect is resolved, the characters selected will not lose their abilities. Same thing with Necron says, the characters left the field before the first ability resolves, then the forward card selected is not removed from the game. These are much different from when we saw the Opus 13 Lightning. She had 2 autos. She would select the targets and then an auto saying when she left, right? This is it's different. This is one effect altogether. And so that's kind of, I know it's going to be a little confusing when you think about it, because a lot of people would try to respond to the first effect to get you to lose its ability, and since Aerith has already been gone, they'll try to convince you that you'll continue to have your ability lost. That is not the case. So just keep that in mind when it comes to Aerith, Necron. I believe it is also Kraken from Water. If he removes your backup, it says until he has left the field or whatever. As long as Kraken is on the field, that card is RFG'd. But if Kraken is removed before the effect resolves, then the backup will not leave. So just keep that in mind when you're messing with, if you see any of these cards. I think the other one is the Emperor. The Emperor is by far my favorite card from this set. It is very resembling a very strong Yu-Gi-Oh card that we played back in the day. But this card's auto ability will not trigger if no cards have been extracted from the deck, even if the opponent that has looked inside of the deck by using search. Now, the reason I want to talk about this one the most, because everyone has a real bad habit of triggering Lena as soon as they resolve the EX burst, right? So I suspect a lot of players are going to draw their card before you've pulled anything out of the deck. You can fail to find. Remember this. The Emperor is not letting your opponent draw an extra card unless you pull something out of the deck. Goes same thing in the break zone. If you trigger and you decide never mind, or you choose not to, I guess, unless you are actually grabbing one or more cards, right? Because what Emperor reads is when one or more cards are added to your opponent's hand from the break zone, draw a card. When your opponent searches one or more cards, draw a card. If 0 cards are grabbed, the Emperor will not trigger. So if your opponent grabs preemptively, please call the judge. It is not the action of searching, it is the grabbing of the card. Okay? I will not stress this enough. Do not let them pull a fast one on you. And if you have Lena and Emperor on the field, wait till the full EX burst resolves before drawing for both cards on your side of the field. So you are not, the victim of a judge call. This is going to get tricky, but the Emperor is going to be a problem. So keep that in mind, everybody. The next one I want to talk about, I believe, is Ursula. This is your basic standard fight mechanic. When Ursula attacks, choose up to one forward your opponent controls. Ursula and the chosen forward deal damage equal to their respective powers. But if Ursula is no longer on the field, and before the second effect of her ability is resolved, no damage is applied. So, remove the targets, no damage. This is not one of those cases where it checks last known power, like Noctis, I think it is, I forget. But if there is no targets, there is no damage. Very straightforward. Again, it's almost like the other summons. Next, moving on to Scorpion Sentinel. This one is an interesting one, and I think it should be used. Scorpion Sentinel does not become a forward if no forwards were selected for its auto ability. How does this happen, you may ask? The only condition that I can think of, is set forward is untargetable by abilities, right? You have, it just cannot be targeted by your opponent's abilities, cannot be blah yada yada. I assume there is, you can respond to this. The Scorpion Sentinel will not become a forward if he does not have a valid target. That's all. Try to catch it. Don't let them trick you otherwise. And the doling only happens once. Remember, it is not every time you attack. It is only the first attack. Abzu, I don't think this one will be used. But if it comes up, the opponent's forward's cards' powers cannot be increased by any and all field abilities. So, very simple. He's out. They cannot go up. However, if it is possible to change the power cards affected from this old Diabolos, right? Because this is set the number. It's just the way it is. I know this nobody plays this card, but it does get through a lot of things, so I think it's important to talk about. And then the last one is the power. If the power value of the cards has been increased by an action ability, auto ability, or summon ability that has already been resolved, their power will stay increased, even if Zabzu is placed on the field after those effects' resolution. However, no further power forward's power increases will be possible from them, regardless of what abilities or summons are used. So, I think it's really just this last part that we got to talk about, that if you already have something that's been applied, not considering field abilities, right? Because it will nullify all field abilities, but, just an effect. And then Kraken, we talked about this. The selected backup will not be removed from the game if Kraken is long enough field at the point of when the auto ability is resolved. Very straightforward, guys. Not a lot to cover again in this one, but it's important. I won't stress enough, the Aerith stuff. Like, remember, you will always have your effect if you remove her before it resolves. And the Emperor. The Emperor is going to be the biggest one that I think is going to trip people up over the weekend, so I hope you're aware. I hope you've watched this video, and I hope you're prepared. So if you're going to be in Cali this weekend for the Material Cup and Dublin, good luck. Stay smart, and don't get the judge called on you. I'm Emo Tempest, hoping you guys learned something, and I'll talk to you guys later.